Before shoes, before sandals, before boots, before socks, before cushioned soles, before laces, before brands, humans walked across the world with nothing between their feet and the earth. No leather, no rubber, no foam, no arch support, no carefully engineered insole, just skin. Skin against dust, skin against gravel, skin against wet grass, skin against hot stone, skin against thorns, roots, mud, ash, ice, and the same planet that had been trying to injure feet for millions of years. And here is the strange part. For most of that story, this was not a disaster. Because ancient human feet were not the soft, protected things many of us carry inside shoes today. They were tools. They were armor. They were maps of a lifetime spent walking. The foot itself had adapted to the world. So the real question is not simply when humans invented shoes. The deeper question is this: why did humans need shoes at all? Because for a long time they did not. For most of human evolution, the body was the shoe. Now imagine an early human walking across an East African plain at dawn. The grass is wet. The air smells like dust and rain that has not fallen yet. Every step presses bare skin into cold earth. No boot protects the heel. No sock softens the friction. No sole separates the person from the planet. But the foot is not helpless. It has spent years becoming hard. Its skin has thickened. Its muscles have learned the ground. Its toes spread and adjust. Its arch rises and falls like a spring. This was not primitive suffering. This was a body doing exactly what it had been shaped to do. Before humans wrapped leather around their feet, the foot itself was already one of the most impressive technologies in the human body. A human foot contains 26 bones, 33 joints, and more than 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments. A large share of the bones in your body are below your ankles. That should tell you something. Evolution invested heavily in the foot, not because it was decorative, because distance mattered. The human foot is not a chimpanzee foot. A chimpanzee foot is still partly like a hand, flexible and useful for gripping branches. The human foot became something different: a platform, a lever, a spring, a machine for moving across open land. And the center of that machine is the arch. That curve inside the foot is not just shape, it stores energy. When the foot hits the ground, the arch compresses slightly. When the body pushes forward, the arch helps return energy into the next step. The foot is not a dead block at the end of the leg. It is alive with tension, feedback, balance, and movement. If you were designing a creature to walk and run long distances under the sun, you would need something like the human foot. And for millions of years, it did its work without shoes. If feet were so vulnerable, how did our ancestors cross continents before anyone invented a boot? The answer is callus. Most modern people think of calluses as a problem, a rough patch, something ugly, something to scrub off, something that proves your feet need care. But to a barefoot human, callus is protection. It is not failure. It is natural armor. People who habitually walk barefoot develop thick, hard skin on the soles of their feet. And the surprising part is that this protection does not necessarily make the foot blind to the ground. Modern research comparing habitually barefoot people with people who usually wear shoes found that thicker calluses can protect the sole without removing tactile sensitivity in the same way cushioned shoes do. That is important, because the foot does not only need protection, it needs information. It needs to feel texture, slope, pressure, balance, danger. A modern shoe gives protection but often reduces feedback. The barefoot callus gives protection while keeping the conversation between foot and ground alive. So our ancestors were not walking around with soft, bleeding feet, helpless before every pebble. Their feet were growing their own soles, shoes made of themselves. A lifetime of movement turned skin into equipment. That is why barefoot was not always the weak option. In many environments, barefoot was the optimized state. Now think about running. Humans are not the fastest animals. A big cat would destroy us in a sprint. A horse can outrun us easily. Even small animals can embarrass a human over short distances. But over long distance, especially in heat, humans become strange. We sweat. We cool ourselves while moving. We can walk and run for hours. We can follow tracks. We can keep pressure on animals that overheat faster than we do. This is why some researchers connect human evolution with endurance running and persistence hunting. Not everywhere, not all the time, not as the only strategy, but as one of the great examples of what the human body could do. And barefoot running reveals something important. People who grow up running barefoot or with minimal footwear often land differently from many modern shoe-wearing runners. Instead of crashing heavily onto the heel, they often land more toward the middle or front of the foot, using the arch, calf, and leg like a spring. Modern cushioned shoes can make heel striking comfortable by protecting the heel from immediate pain. But barefoot, the body often changes its behavior to reduce impact. That does not mean everyone should throw away their shoes tomorrow. Modern feet are not ancient feet. Modern streets are not ancient ground. But it does remind us of something. The human foot was not waiting for technology to become useful. It was already technology. So if the human foot was this good, why did humans ever start wearing shoes? The answer begins with movement. Not movement across one valley. Not movement across one familiar landscape. Movement across the world. For a long time, early humans and their ancestors lived in warmer environments, where bare feet, calluses, and local knowledge were often enough. But humans did not stay where the body was comfortable. They walked out. Into colder places, sharper places, higher places, drier places, rockier places, icy places. The human foot was built for distance, but not for every surface on Earth. Snow can destroy bare skin, ice can freeze toes, jagged rock can cut, desert sand can burn by day and freeze by night. Cold mud can numb the body. Migration created a problem evolution had not solved fast enough. The foot was excellent, but the world was larger than the foot's original design. So humans did what humans always do. They extended the body with technology. The shoe was not invented because the foot was broken. It was invented because humans became ambitious. We wanted to go where bare feet could not safely go. That changes the meaning of shoes. A shoe is not only protection, it is permission. Permission to cross ice. Permission to walk on sharp stone. Permission to survive cold. Permission to carry loads farther. Permission to trespass into environments where a barefoot tropical animal had no business surviving. The first shoe was not fashion. It was a passport. But finding the first shoe is almost impossible, because shoes are made from things that disappear. Leather rots, grass decays, bark breaks down, plant fiber returns to the earth. Hide dissolves unless the environment is extremely dry, frozen, or sealed away from air. Stone tools survive, bones survive, teeth survive, shoes almost never do. That means the history of footwear is partly missing. Not because humans were barefoot forever, but because the evidence died. This is where scientists had to get clever. If the shoes themselves disappeared, maybe the human body kept the record. The paleoanthropologist Eric Trinkhaus asked a simple but powerful question. What does wearing shoes do to the bones of the foot? When you walk barefoot, your toes work. They grip, they flex, they help push the body forward. They strengthen because they are used. But supportive footwear can take over some of that work. The smaller toes may become less robust over time. So Trinkhaus studied ancient foot bones. He compared strong lower limbs with the bones of the smaller toes. And he found a pattern suggesting that supportive footwear may have become common among some humans by around 40,000 years ago. This is not a shoe you can hold. It is an anatomical clue, a possible footprint inside the skeleton, and it must be treated carefully. Toe bones can change for more than one reason. Scientists debate indirect evidence, but the idea is powerful. Somewhere in the Upper Paleolithic, long before agriculture, long before cities, some humans may already have been using footwear often enough that their bones began to show it. The body remembered the shoe even when the shoe disappeared. Now move the map to Tanzania. Long before any surviving shoe, long before the Upper Paleolithic, the Laetoli footprints were pressed into volcanic ash around 3.66 million years ago. They were likely made by Australopithecus afarensis. No shoe, no sandal, no leather. Just early hominin feet crossing wet ash that later hardened into stone. Those footprints matter because they show the deep age of walking. Before big brains, before cities, before written memory, before footwear, there were feet, bare feet, leaving proof that the human story began as a journey on the ground. The oldest record is not a shoe, it is the absence of one. A bare foot pressed into the earth. Now move forward again, to the places where footwear actually survived. Not because the shoes were normal, but because the environments were strange enough to preserve the impossible. In Oregon, at Fort Rock Cave, Archaeologists found sandals woven from sagebrush bark. They are around 10,000 years old, among the oldest directly dated footwear in the world. These were not clumsy scraps tied together by people just discovering the idea. They were carefully woven, twisted, worked, designed. They show skill, and because they are already skilled objects, the tradition behind them was probably older. We are not looking at the first idea. We are looking at the oldest surviving luck. Dry caves protected what ordinary soil would have destroyed. Now move the map to Armenia. In Areni 1 cave, archaeologists found a remarkably preserved leather shoe dating to around 5,500 years ago. It was made from a single piece of cowhide, shaped to the foot and laced with a leather cord. It was found with grass inside it, possibly for insulation or to help keep its shape. It is one of the oldest known leather shoes in the world, and what makes it powerful is how ordinary it feels. A right shoe, a human size, laces, a shape made for one person's foot. Someone wore it. Someone tied it. Someone walked across a landscape in it. Then somehow, through accident and preservation, it remained when almost everything else about that person disappeared. That is what ancient objects do. They turn ordinary life into a message. A shoe is not just leather. It is a human morning, a cold walk, a journey, a body that needed protection. Now move the map to the Alps. Ötzi the Iceman died around 5,300 years ago and was preserved in ice. His clothing survived in extraordinary detail, including his footwear. Ötzi's shoes were not crude. They were layered cold weather equipment, leather, plant fiber mesh, dry grass insulation, materials arranged to keep feet warm in a mountain environment that could kill an unprotected traveler. These were not primitive footbags. They were engineered mountain shoes, and they reveal the real reason footwear became important. Cold, terrain, migration, risk. Ötzi did not wear shoes because humans had forgotten how to walk barefoot. He wore shoes because the Alps do not care how good your calluses are. In the wrong environment, bare feet are not freedom. They are a death sentence. Now look at the pattern. Laetoli gives us ancient bare feet in Tanzania. Fort Rock gives us woven sandals in the dry caves of Oregon. Areni gives us leather footwear in the mountains of Armenia. Ötzi gives us insulated shoes in the Alps. The evidence is scattered across the map, because shoes were not one invention in one place for one reason. They were reinvented, adapted, and redesigned wherever human feet met new problems. Hot ground, cold snow, sharp stone, long travel, heavy loads, status, ritual, identity, work, war. Eventually, shoes became more than protection. They became culture. A sandal could show climate. A boot could show occupation. A decorated shoe could show wealth. A bare foot could show poverty, humility, holiness, or closeness to the earth depending on the society. Shoes became symbols. Who could wear what? Who had to remove them? Who could afford them? Who made them? Who walked barefoot because they chose to? Who walked barefoot because they had no choice? Like many human technologies, shoes began as a solution and became a language. They told people where you lived, what you did, and sometimes where you belonged. But the deepest truth is still biological. Modern people often think of bare feet as weak. Ancient history says the opposite. Bare feet carried us for millions of years. Bare feet crossed Africa. Bare feet left prints in volcanic ash. Bare feet stood beside fires. Bare feet tracked animals. Bare feet carried children. Bare feet climbed, ran, balanced, crouched, and learned the shape of the world directly. Shoes came later, and when they came, they did not replace the foot. They extended it. They allowed a warm climate animal to cross ice, a soft-skinned creature to walk over stone, a migrating species to turn the whole planet into a road. That is why humans started wearing shoes, not because the foot was a failure, because the foot was so successful that it carried us to places where it needed help. The shoe is a confession and a triumph at the same time. A confession that the world can be too harsh for the body. A triumph because humans refuse to stop walking. So the next time you put on shoes, remember what they really are. Not just something under your outfit. Not just fashion. Not just comfort. They are ancient technology. A layer between skin and planet. A memory of migration. A tool born from cold, stone, distance, and ambition. Before shoes, humans walked barefoot across the deep past. After shoes, humans walked into places their biology alone could not carry them. The first shoe was not just protection for the foot, it was protection for the human idea that we could keep going. Across deserts, across mountains, across ice, across continents, across every surface that said stop. And maybe that is why shoes feel so ordinary now. Because they succeeded too well. They became invisible. But under every sole, under every stitch, under every lace, there is an ancient story. A bare foot meeting a dangerous world. A human hand wrapping skin, grass, bark, or leather around it. And one quiet decision that changed the journey of our species. The earth is rough, the distance is long, but we are going anyway.